Hello, welcome back to another Ian Kane podcast. I'm Ian Kane, and today we are talking about Jesus' miracles in a whole new place to do a podcast. This is a new place that we've never been before. Very wooded area, but nice place for a podcast. It's very quiet. Starting today, we're starting a summer series. Every day we're going to do a podcast, unless I'm traveling or going somewhere. We're going to be doing a podcast about something different every day, or a gospel reading, or a reflection, or a book in the Bible, something that really interests me and that would help you guys flourish in your spiritual life. Now, first, I want to give a big thanks to this person's idea of doing the miracles was a great idea. You know who you are, the one, the only. Lovely person, by the way. Great person. Let's get started here. We're gonna start in Matthew 8. Follow along if you want to. We're gonna read the verse where it comes from, and we're gonna go from there. Let's start right now. This is from Matthew 8, 1 through... No, this is Matthew 5. Matthew 8, 5. Jeez Louise. Matthew 8, 5 through 13. Sorry. Still waking up. It's like 3 o'clock, though. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. Let's get right into it. As he entered Capernaum, a centurion came forward to him, begging him, saying, "Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, in terrible distress." And he said to him, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion answered, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my slave, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard him, he marveled and said to those who followed him, "Truly I say to you, not even in Israel have I found such faith. I tell you, many will come from east and west and sit at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into the outer darkness, and there will be men will weep and gnash their teeth." And the centurion said to Jesus, and to the centurion Jesus said, "Go, let it be done for you as you have believed." And at that moment the servant was healed. All right, let's break down here. The last part I really don't understand too much. I really need to go deeper into this. Of course, I'm trying to go quick here because we got a lot to do. But really, the overview here is a centurion. If you don't know what a centurion is, it's a Roman, officer who's like, think of a sergeant in our days, a police officer, basically. And the centurion's servant is paralyzed, and the centurion says that he is not worthy. Jesus is not worthy to come under his roof because he is Romans, and back then Romans and the people of Israel didn't go too well together. The Jewish people hated the Romans because of their paganness and what they believed in. And that's why he said, "You're not worthy to come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed." The faith that centurion had was something that Jesus was surprised by. That Jesus said, "I have seen no faith like this ever in Israel until now." That the centurion had so much faith that he said, "If you only say one word, my servant will be healed, even from afar. You don't have to see him. Just say it, and it will be done." And I think that faith can be resembled in us today by, when we want to see something that we want to see from God almost as proof, he will give it to us in more subtle ways. And it's hard to tell until you actually focus on what you asked God for. And you don't ask him do this and do that like he's your little puppet. But you almost, if you will, Lord, let this be done. But if you don't let it be done. Whatever is in your will, let it be done. Because then you're almost humbling yourself to the Lord and saying that I want your will only to be done. This is what I want. But if it is in your will, if it is what you want to happen, let it be done. And that's kind of the review of that first one. The second one is again from Matthew. This is from Matthew 23. No, Matthew. Oh, Jesus, again, I can't do this. Hold up. Yeah, got my notes here. We're back. Matthew 9, 1 through 8. Jesus heals a paralytic. Let's read it. And getting into the boat, he crossed over and came to his own city. And behold, they brought him a paralytic laying on his bed. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." And behold, some of the scribes said to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil is in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Rise and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." He said to the paralytic, "Rise and take up your bed and go home." And he rose and went home. When the crowd saw it, they were afraid and glorified God, who had given them such authority to men. For beginning in 9:2, Jesus says, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." What does take heart really mean there? Take heart. Really, don't focus on the path. Oh my gosh. Don't focus on the past. Focus on the things that you can control right now, is what Jesus is basically saying. That when we get our minds disturbed and we won't stop thinking about the past, it's a perfect way for evil to get in the way between us and Jesus. Let not our hearts be disturbed from what Jesus is meaning here, that he forgives our sins, to take heart, to not look back, to continue on the path of forgiveness, to continue on the path of not sinning, and to continue on the path of forgiving others. Because ultimately, that's what Jesus would want us to do. And I think that it's hard for us, and it's hard for me sometimes, to really... What's that? It's screaming over here. This is like scary. Anyways, back to my point. It's hard for us sometimes to really realize that the past doesn't define us, only the future does. And really, we can only create our future. We can't create our past, because that already happened. So what I'm trying to say is, don't focus on the past. Focus on the present, focus on the future, and how you can improve your relationship with God, and always take the next right step. Let's move on to the next one. Now we're going into Mark. Let's get into Mark. Here we go. This is from Mark 6:37 through 34. This is the feeding of the 5,000. But he answered them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves have you? Go and see." And when they had found out, they said 5 and 2 fish. And he commanded them all to sit down by companies upon the green grass. So they sat down in groups by hundreds and by 50s. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before all the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them, and they ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. And those who ate the loaves were the 5,000 men. I think the first verse that comes to mind when I think of this is one of the most quoted verses in the Bible ever, probably, other than John 3:16, is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And Jesus basically backs that up here by basically saying here that we got 3 loaves, we got 2 fish, five loaves and 2 fish. He's saying that even the little that we have is enough to satisfy ourselves and others. Even the little, let's just say in this term, money in this world right now and forever has been a big thing. Even the little money that we have ourselves can still do. The Lord always helps us with what we need. And I think that if we have faith, again, like the last one, if we have faith, anything is possible. even faith the size of a mustard seed, which, look it up, it's really small. It's like very, very small. It can grow. And it can say to one mountain, move, and it'll move. That's what Jesus said in one of his verses. I'm not sure where that was. I think it was in Matthew. I can't recall. But basically, his point is here is that just to have faith. Our next one in Mark is in 6:48 through 49, a very short one. This is when Jesus walks on the sea. And he saw that they were distressed in rowing, and for the wind was against them. And about the 4th watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. He meant to pass by them, but they saw him walking on the sea. They thought it was a ghost and cried out. When, after these verses are over, Jesus commands Peter to jump in, right? To jump in and to basically, Jesus proving himself to Peter. And Peter jumps in, right? And he's walking to Jesus, and then he starts doubting, so he starts sinking. And then he grabs the arm of Jesus, or his hand, and Jesus pulls him up, and Jesus says, why did you ever doubt? Right? Take heart and have no fear. And I think that, again, the pattern that I'm realizing here now is that the faith that we need to have is, again, just we need the littlest amount of faith to have the biggest results. It's just important to realize in all aspects of our lives, in our spiritual lives, and in our day-to-day lives, that the faith that we have right now is sufficient enough for us to live with Christ. Yes, it could be better. Yes, it should be better. But even when we have that little faith, that means that there's something that can grow. That is the last one from Mark. Now we're going to Luke. Let's get to Luke. Here we go. Pulling back up the notes. We got a lot of them here. All right, Luke. First one, right off the bat. Luke 5:4 through 11. This is in the one where Jesus calls his first disciples. And when he ceased speaking, he said to Simon, Put into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And Simon answered, Master, we have toiled all night and took nothing. But at your word I will let down the nets. And when they had done this, they enclosed all the great shoal of fish, and the nets were breaking. They beckoned to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so that they may begin to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he was astonished, and when that were with him at the catch of fish, which they had taken. And so they were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, Do not be afraid. Henceforth you will be catching men. And they had everything. They brought their boats to land and left everything and followed him. The first thing that comes to mind here is that when Peter says, oh, Julie, look at the sun. It's coming down. This is beautiful. When Peter says, Depart from me, I'm a sinful man, O Lord. The first thing that comes to mind is the Jesus prayer. The Orthodox use this, the Orthodox Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church uses this a lot, this kind of thing a lot. And it's called the Jesus prayer. It goes like this. Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. And they repeat that while beating their chest, right? And it's a very quick prayer, but I think that, I use it sometimes too, but I think that it's so quick and simple, but it has such a deep meaning. And you can put in that prayer anything you want. So you can have, for example, Lord, have mercy on Peter, a sinner. Have mercy on whoever, a sinner, right? And I think that's very important that we almost have that mercy on ourselves, and that, that God gives us that mercy and that grace when we say that prayer is very important. And I think that we all are sinners in different ways and we do different things. But at the end of the day, we all are united with Christ. And Christ knows that we want to change, and he knows that we struggle. But he says, rise, for now you will be catching men. He doesn't want us to reflect on the past, like I said earlier. He wants us to focus on the present, focus on the future. He wants us to grow with him always. That's from Luke 5. Let's move on to Luke 8:43 through 48. This is when the woman's healed, when she touched the cloth of Jesus. And a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years and had spent all of her life upon physicians and could not be healed by any one, came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately her blood flow ceased. And Jesus said, who was it who touched me? When all denied it, Peter said, Master, the multitudes surround you and press upon you. But Jesus said, someone touched me, for I perceive that the power has gone forth from me. And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, and falling down before him, declared in the presence of all the people why she touched him. And she had been immediately healed. And he said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. When we look at this passage, we see a woman who is suffering from a physical disease. But, that if we put ourselves in that story, that could be us with people who are mentally ill, people who have physical disease as well, but people who also have spiritual problems. It shows us that even the tiniest amount of Jesus has the biggest possibility of things to happen. That small fringe of his garment that she touched had so much. And I think that proves to us that when we get that little piece of Jesus is all we need. We don't need something big. We don't need something, all showy. And that's why we shouldn't really ask for, Lord, I want this to happen. I want something really big to happen to prove to me. And that's why Jesus works, and God works in subtle ways. He'll put subtle things in our lives, and he wants us to notice those so that we can then trust in him. He doesn't, sometimes, very rarely, he gives us big signs that, we look at that Lady of Fatima, where there's some thousands of people saw, right? The Lord rarely does that. I'm not saying he does that, he still does that, right? But he always works the subtle ways. And that's because he wants us to see it. He wants us to focus on him, and he wants us to focus more on him. That is from Luke. Now we're moving on to John. This is the marriage at Cana. This is going to be from 1 through 11. On the third day, there was a marriage at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus was also invited to the marriage with his disciples. When the wine failed, the mother of Jesus said to him, They have no wine. And Jesus said to her, O woman, what have you to do with me? My hour has not yet come. His mother said to the servants, Do whatever he tells you. Now 6 stone jars were standing there for Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, Fill the jars with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, Now draw some out, and take it to the steward of the feast. Now he took it, and when the steward of the feast tasted the water, now become wine. They did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. The steward of the feast called the bridegroom and said, Every man serves the good wine first, and when men have drunk freely the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now. This is the first of the signs that Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory to his disciples believed in him. And his disciples believed in him. All right, I just dropped my highlighter in my highlighter cap. I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm tired, man. I'm tired. At the very end, the bridegroom said that every man serves the good wine first, but now you serve the good wine, now that everybody's drunk. And that's kind of the thing back then. Really, I think that's the fact here is that Jesus gives us good things all the time. And I think that's kind of the key takeaway here. That not just the bad things. Yes, Jesus allows the bad things to happen because he knows that they can bring us closer to him. And they can draw us closer to himself. And I'll do a whole another podcast on that. That's another idea. Doing a podcast on how Jesus works in different ways. But really here, Jesus is saying that, not Jesus, but the bridegroom is saying that you serve the good wine last. It's weird, right? And it's weird how Jesus works in that way too, that Jesus gives us the really good stuff after the really bad stuff. The really bad things that happen in our lives, there's always something good that will happen after that. And that's what Jesus promises to us, that not all things will always be bad, but all things will end up to be good in some sort of way. And, we can't imagine it, but if we really stop and look at our lives, everything bad that happened had something good come out of it, right? Whether that's spiritual, mental, physical, anything you think of. And our final one today. This one is from John 1 through 12. And as he passed by, he saw a man blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus said, it was not that the man sinned or his parents, but the works of God might be made manifest in him. We must work the workers of him who sent me. While it is day, night comes when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. As he said this, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and anointed the man's eyes with the clay, saying to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. So he went and washed, and came back seeing. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar said, It is not this the man who used to sit and beg. Some said, It is he. Others said, No, but is like him. No, but he is like him. He said, I am the man. They said to him, Then how were your eyes opened? He answered, The man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes, and said to me, Go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed and received my sight. And they said to him, Where is he? And he said, I don't know. I do not know. At the very beginning, it says, It is not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be manifest in him. Again, if bad things happen to us, use it as an opportunity to grow closer to God in your faith. Because, like Jesus said here, his blindness was used to manifest God's goodness. So let that be with us. Let's think it the same way. Something bad happens to you. Pray about it. Continue to work with God and to continue to have faith in him that, this is all for him, right? Give everything to him and say, Lord, let your will be done. I want only what is in your will to be done. I want only what you want me to do. And when you give that praise and honor to him, that will be manifested to other people to see, wow, something really happened to this guy or gal, but he or she still found a way to have faith. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. First podcast of the summer has officially been completed. Beautiful place. Oh, it's like a bug or something. Beautiful place to do this. I thank you all for watching. Again, another shout out to, the person who helped me out here. You know who you are with the idea. And thank you for watching, and until next time, tomorrow, God bless.